Pompeii was no small village. It was a thriving Roman city of roughly 11,000 to 20,000 people, merchants, politicians, gladiators, slaves, and ordinary families going about their day. It sat near the Bay of Naples in southern Italy, in the shadow of a mountain they considered beautiful. They had no idea that mountain was a volcano. August 24th, 79 AD. It was a Tuesday. People were in the marketplace. Bread was baking in the ovens. And then, without any warning, the ancient world was equipped to understand. Vesuvius exploded. The eruption shot a column of ash and rock 33 kilometers into the sky, almost 4 times the height of Mount Everest. Pumice rained down like hailstones. The sky turned black at noon, and within 18 hours, a city of tens of thousands was gone. But here is what makes Pompeii unlike anything else in history. It wasn't destroyed. It was preserved. The ash hardened around everything: bodies, food, furniture, even the expressions on people's faces, creating a perfect, silent time capsule of the ancient world. Nobody expected this when archaeologists first started digging in the 1700s. The city was remarkably intact. Not just walls and floors, but entire menus carved above restaurant counters, political campaign slogans painted on the sides of buildings, love poems, insults. One wall reads, translated directly, "Whoever defecates here is warned. Look out for the curse." 2,000 years old. And it reads like something you'd see scrawled in a bathroom today. Scientists were shocked when excavators discovered a fast food counter called a thermopolium, with the remains of actual food still inside the serving pots: duck bones, snails, fava beans, wine. The last meal that was never eaten, frozen in ceramic containers for 2,000 years. Over 80 thermopolia have been found so far. The Romans, it turns out, barely cooked at home. They ate out every single day. Here's where it gets eerie. When archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli began excavating in the 1860s, he noticed hollow spaces inside the hardened ash. He poured liquid plaster into those spaces. What emerged were perfect three-dimensional casts of human beings. Their posture at the moment of death, their clothing folds, their clenched hands, their terror-stricken faces. One cast shows a man covering his face with his cloak. Another shows a family huddled together. A dog, still chained to its post, twisted into a knot of agony. This changes everything we know about how we think about death and preservation in archaeology. These aren't bones, these are people. Scientists were shocked when a 2018 study published in the journal Antiquity concluded that many Pompeians didn't suffocate from ash and didn't burn from lava. They were killed by something called a pyroclastic surge, a superheated cloud of gas and volcanic material moving at hundreds of kilometers per hour, reaching temperatures of up to 300 degrees Celsius. The heat was so extreme, so sudden, that it caused soft tissue to vaporize and skulls to explode from internal steam pressure in under a fraction of a second. Death was instantaneous, which is why some casts look so peaceful. The brain received no time to register fear before it was over. Nobody expected this but ancient Roman writer Pliny the Younger, who watched the eruption from across the bay as a teenager, wrote a detailed letter about it. He described earthquakes in the days before, ground tremors, water sources going dry. The earth was screaming. And people stayed. Some left, but thousands didn't. Some were looting abandoned homes. Some were waiting for relatives. Some simply didn't believe the mountain was truly dangerous. The archaeology confirms its skeletons found clutching jewelry and money bags, trying to flee at the last possible moment. Today, roughly 1/3 of Pompeii remains unexcavated, deliberately preserved using modern technology, waiting for future scientists with better tools. Ground-penetrating radar has already revealed buildings, streets, and rooms beneath the soil that no human eye has seen since 79 AD. And in 2020, excavators found the perfectly preserved remains of 2 men, a wealthy man and his male slave who had fled together into a room before the surge hit. The expressions, the positions, the clasped hands. It broke the archaeologists who found them. Now, here's where it gets personal. And a little uncomfortable. What if Vesuvius erupted today? This changes everything we know about modern disaster preparedness, because the truth is, Vesuvius is not dormant. It is simply resting. Right now, Roughly 3 million people live within the danger zone around the volcano in the Naples metropolitan area. Scientists classify it as one of the most dangerous volcanoes on Earth. Its last eruption was in 1944. Volcanologists estimate that when it erupts again, not if, when the pyroclastic surges could reach the city of Naples itself, evacuation plans exist. The Italian government has designated zones. But here is the terrifying reality. The ancient Romans had none of that. They had no word for volcano. They had no historical memory of what the mountain could do. They had no maps of the danger zones, no emergency broadcasts, no satellites tracking seismic activity. And yet they still didn't all make it out. Pause. Now imagine that city is yours. Imagine it is a regular Tuesday. You're at work. Your family is home. The sky goes dark at noon. You have maybe 6 hours before the surge. 6 hours to get 3 million people out of a city. The Romans who died in Pompeii weren't foolish. They weren't reckless. They were ordinary people, in an ordinary city, on an ordinary day, and the Earth simply didn't give them enough warning. Scientists were shocked when simulations showed that modern Naples evacuation scenarios have a failure rate that keeps emergency planners awake at night. Pompeii is not just a history lesson. It is a mirror. There is a cast in the Pompeii Museum of a small child, no older than 4 or 5 years old, curled up, shoes still on. Scientists believe she was sheltering under a staircase when the surge hit. She has been there for 2,000 years. Pompeii is one of the most visited archaeological sites on Earth. Over 3 million visitors a year walk those same streets where people laughed, argued, fell in love, and died. They walk past bakeries that still have millstones, past brothels with menu paintings on the walls, past election graffiti for politicians who never served their terms. The ash that killed Pompeii also gave it eternal life. Every person who died that day is, in some strange way, still there. Their homes still standing, their food still in the pots, their handprints still on the plaster walls. They were frozen in time so that we 2,000 years later could find them and remember that behind every historical event, there were just people living their lives, completely unaware that Tuesday would be their last. Cut to black. Then, final card. The city is still being excavated. The mountain is still active. And somewhere beneath the soil, there are still stories waiting to be told. If that doesn't leave you speechless, nothing will.